of towards the beginning of the book as you were growing up about how reading is a superpower. And I'm so glad that you said that because it means I'm a superhero. But talk to me more about that, about what reading means to you and how it's influenced you.
Okay. And of course you're a superhero, Andrea. Oh my God, you read so much. um, yeah, so like I said, when I was young, it opened up the world for me. I came from this small community in Durban, and I would just go to my local library across the road, very small library, and I would wait for new books to come because I'd be reading all the books in the library. And it taught me that this is not the only world, and that's such an important lesson for a child, especially, like this is not the only world. There's more thoughts out there. There's more places. There's more people. There's more ideas, because you only have one life, right? And you don't want it to be limited by just what you know. And so reading changed my life. I say that in the book. Reading changed my life. That little library in Asheville, it changed my life. And so yeah, that led the way for the kind of adventures that I would have, because I say in the book that, when you think anything impossible can happen, then it does. And if you think extraordinary things happen, it will. And so these books reinforce that idea that anything can happen. And, when you stop believing it, that's when life becomes mundane.
So your book, a lot of the book is about the power of writing, and specifically about the power of telling stories about our people, our cultures, our communities, and how writing connects people. So is that what you set out to do, to connect?
When I set out to write this book, I honestly just was writing a collection of funny stories. That was like my intention. And then as I started writing it, I was like, oh, this is actually a story about being brave. And it's a story about like women who can do stuff. And it's a story about how I realized I was talking a lot when growing up, I was talking about my family and my culture and my faith. And I didn't intend that at all, but I couldn't have told a story without talking about those things, because you had to know who I was. And so I didn't intend to, but if I wanted to let in the reader as honestly as possible on this journey, I had to talk about those things. And then I realized how important it was to share that, because we need to have all cultures and all faiths and all stories out there. There shouldn't be only one type. And that's how it connects us, because we actually realize how similar we are. I could be writing about growing up as the fourth daughter in an Indian Muslim family in Durban, and there could be somebody in Australia who tells me, this is exactly my life. This is also what happened to me. I also went through these experiences. And so I feel like in that sense, it just pulls us all closer, because we see experiences are universal, despite um, how people tell us our differences matter.
Mhm. And of course, you highlight the importance of travel, of seeing the world. So tell me how what did that mean to you to be able to go out there and explore?
Um, well, it finally meant that I could do things that I wanted to do, because for a long time, in most of my 20s, I didn't feel like life was going my way. I wasn't getting married. I wasn't having kids, and I wasn't traveling. So what was I doing? I was like, I'm just existing. And so it made me realize, firstly, that I could do what I wanted to do, and that things could happen, and that things I believed in could happen. When I went to stay in that village in Kashmir in the mountains, I remember I would sit at night and just look at the sky and think, I came here and I made this happen, and anything is possible. If I can be sitting here looking up at the stars on the top of this mountain in this remote village, I can make things happen. And I want anybody to believe that you can make things happen. So, yeah, that was like the important first step for me, to just believe that I could do things. And so travel made me realize I can make things possible. And then also, like, it just introduced me to people who I can connect with, and learn from all the time. You learn from people all the time. The places are beautiful and you learn things, but it's also about the people you meet on the way, on the journey, and how they teach you about yourself and about themselves and about how life is. Like, if you want to grow, your world has to keep opening. Otherwise, it's just going to stay small and you're not going to grow. And how can you live a life like if you're not growing, you know?
Absolutely. And you so you've written a novel. Now you've written this book, these little vignettes about your life. What is next for you?
That question always comes. Um, yes, I'm working on a second novel. It's as you know from the book, it's been taking me a while to work on, but I feel like I'm ready actually to completely finish this book now because I've been working on it for so long. It's a magic realism novel set in Durban on the coast. And it's about a young girl who moves into an abandoned house and she finds all these strange characters living there. And they start telling her their stories about why they're left behind there. And then she figures out why this house was abandoned like almost 100 years ago because there's some mystery to the house. And it's it's almost finished. So I would say that's the next project that I'm trying to finish.
Then just finally, what is it that you want people to take away from this book once they've read it?
I just want people to be brave. I think it's so important to get out of your comfort zone. And I say this as someone who's scared every single day. Like I wake up and I'm scared, and I feel like it gets worse as you get older. But it must be a reminder, that these stories should be reminders that, wonderful things can happen. I mean, bad things can happen too, but wonderful things can happen also. Like when I go and take that chance to go to this thing called a wedding party in Shanghai, I didn't know what to expect, and I was afraid and I had no expectations. But it ended up being one of the most wonderful experiences of my life, being in a wedding dress on a rooftop in Shanghai. And that's only because I took that risk of going there that day and seeing what is this about. So I hope it will just push people to figure out what they want and to be their true selves. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Shubnum, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. The book is just brilliant. Makes you laugh, makes you think. So thank you very much. I really appreciate it.
No, thank you so much for having me. It's such a pleasure and an honor to be here.